Yes, I know it's been ages, and I've had some opportunities to do this in the past 2 months as well, but I've just been so tired! I've been worn out, give a man a break! November 27th, that's when this race took place around Cornelis' Dusha Gold rally circuit, which was a mostly bland track, unless of course you went exploring like some of us did, some more than others. There were some very creative lines hidden around the track, and I guess thanks to my past Motorstorm experience, I've just developed some kind of knack for being able to read the road quickly and find out where they are. So yes, the voice returns for just one rambling recap. J. Luke, you can stop screaming now. It's kind of ironic, isn't it, that the moment you resign from tryharding, you actually win a race. That was the case after race 7. I'd had enough. I was done with taking it seriously and racing competitively, and I just wanted to have fun, and as soon as you say that, you actually end up winning. So, following the theme of the season, I didn't do a great deal of practice, but like I said earlier, I just found most of the best lines straight away. I stole the grass entry line for the chicane from Linny right before the race, and apart from that, basically just relied heavily upon my ability to short shift as there were quite long straights around the track. And in the end, my off-road event total becomes 3 for 3, keeping the streak alive. For the most part, Lano was battling Nico the rider over first, but then I came hurtling over the bridge to pass Lano, and then was able to snatch the lead away from Nico using the camber of the gully. Nico ended up falling back after that, and Lano went on to battle Merphos over second. It didn't last too long though, because Merphos uncharacteristically missed a checkpoint, setting him back to third and writing off his chances of victory. Now with the finish line being on a corner, and the pit lane being right after it, it did confuse one or two people as to when they were allowed to pit, as you're not supposed to pit on the final lap. However, that's what Merphos and Mo Youngster did, so they did receive the obligatory 5-second penalty, which in this division's case ended up knocking the King off the podium. So I mean, he basically finished top 3 every race this season, with the exception of this one, due to a minor technicality. But the star here has to be Lano in second, right? I mean, I believe this was his first Division 1 race, and he was unsure about how he'd do. I definitely consider Lano to be one of the more casual racers, so it was an awesome way to finish the season with him performing at his best in the highest division. Finally got a race in where one of his little kids didn't run in front of the TV or pull him aside for 30 minutes to play. I know he was feeling pretty ecstatic about that finish. Probably not now, 2 months on, but at the time, he was overjoyed. So, great drive, Mr. Lourenco, nonetheless. Right, now I'm going to jump to the overall standings in a second, because, honestly, this result was huge for me in terms of where I finished overall. I'd been knocking around somewhere down in 8th on the board, and I needed bad results from Linny, Truskavec, Macy, MC West, and QCOD. Well, in race 7, QCOD had trouble getting into respawned cars or something, so he had to quit the race, and as we'd already been quite late starting, we couldn't get him back in and restart the whole thing, so he ended up scoring minimum points there. MC West and Macy gave up during that race as well. I think that was the Futo race, right? So that only left Linny and Trusk, and well, as fortune would have it, when I scored strongest of all, they didn't position well. Now, without further ado, here's a quick glance at the standings just to show you the impact that had on me personally, because I rocketed right back up to 5th, and I'll give you my opinion on that a bit later on. And of course, for those of you who just wanted to see the Season 3 results without sitting through a super long video because you've got the attention span of a gnat, there you are. For now, let's press on to Division 2. I think we finally saw the limits of Superhero's meteoric rise, because for a relatively new driver, he'd done so well to get into Division 2 as quickly as he did, but in this race he had pole position, everything was mapped out for him to win it, and he lost 2 positions. Macy was basically unstoppable in this race, so unstoppable in fact that he drove right through Supply GTA in the opening sequence, flipping Supply up and over, and what's worse, he didn't even realise what his lag had done, so he landed himself a 10-second penalty for that, but even then he created such a gap that it didn't matter, and Supply himself was able to make a comeback through the field, overtaking Superhero barely during his pit stop. A bit further back, Macy ran roughshot over Marcel Wayne a couple of times, sending Marcel all the way down to like 10th or 11th. It took him a while, but Mercier did eventually return the position. I think he must have spent a lap contemplating whether he needed to, but in the end, thank you Mercier, because you did make the right decision. So that does explain why Mercier is right down there in 9th, a bit of an uninspiring position, just sort of lost in the middle there. Whereas Marcel Wayne was able to pick off a few drivers, I think MC West and 80 Horse, who must have crashed out. He couldn't catch Chatty though, although he was behind him for a portion of the race, but he did manage to fend off a hard-charging L. Ryan Gibb, until Ryan crashed as well, relieving the pressure. Back and forth action from the middle of the pack there. Rogers didn't show up, and Dr. Peppers was still recovering, so a pair of big names missed out on this one. Let's go to Division 3. I remember when the Sultan RS came out and we all rushed to Benny's, applied all the sick-looking rally bumpers, skirts, mud flaps, safety nets and roll cages, then like 20 of us loaded up Camp Collins dirt track, that one from the Benefactor Championship, I can't remember its name now, and at least 10 of those 20 cars were in the classic blue and yellowy gold Subaru Impreza colours, and I remember how excited everyone was for how the Sultan RS would perform off-road. And then the frames. The game couldn't process 20 completely tricked out interiors, 20 different bobbleheads bobbing on 20 different dashboards. Oh, it was grim. And this is before we got going. This was just sorting out the grid. Then we drove the things, and well, God, these Division 3 guys will be able to tell you, the Sultan RS is a lot of things, but it is not a rally car. Blame the wheel. Blame the wheel, that's all I can say. Anyway, in spite of picking up a 5-second penalty for dangerous driving, JB Carfreak made one hell of a comeback in this race to win it. He must have closed more than 15 seconds to the leaders at one point, and it was all because he was the only one short-shifting. He was short-shifting like a motherfucker down every straight. His exhaust was spitting flames harder than I spit bars. Started. Yeah, short shifting was everything in this car, and on the straights, JB was making all of his time. He passed the others like they were standing still. Apart from that, the only other thing I recall from this race was a 3-wide incident between Flaming Gun, Youngster and Manel. Manel got his line wrong into the corner, he ended up on the outside. Now and then he didn't scout 2 cars on his inside after a late appearance from Youngster up the inside. Flaming got caught in the middle, and Manel, with his lag, got shunted somewhere into the river. Tough call, racing incident. Spent days debating that one. Loads of no-shows for the final race of the season in this division, unfortunately, but judging by the comments of the attendees, you only missed 30 minutes of torture. Division 4. We finally got the debuts of Overwhelm and Jonas. For weeks these guys had been tearing up the waiting list, and it's almost a shame that we didn't get to see what they were capable of, because of course, as soon as they got into Division 4, they tore that up as well. In fact, they even tore into each other. Overwhelm, following the theme of the previous 2 division winners, is yet another winner to have received a penalty while doing so. He completely wiped out his partner Jonas on lap 1 and didn't wait for it. I believe he may have also pitted on the final lap, so he got another penalty for that. I just remember that he got about 15 seconds of penalties and that it still didn't matter because that's how fast he was and that's how much of a gap he opened up. Fortunately, Jonas was able to recover and still grab second, while Tilco Olympia and ZPM Golub battled over third for the entire race. It was bumper-to-bumper stuff. It was really great to watch. Mr. Armin came through somewhere after that, unable to catch the battling pair ahead. Then I think we had the 2 exhibition drivers, I think they were Boxman and 80, who were just there to fill up the grid, make the numbers. And they somehow managed to avoid everyone and have their own stupid dive bomb battle, which was quite funny to watch, I have to be honest. But of course, they didn't affect the positions of the actual Division 4 drivers. They stayed well out the way, which is why we see the others coming in from 6th to 10th. They kind of came through one by one after that, really. It was more of a case of just who crashed the least, with the exception of my coming back and iJukesy, who I believe dropped out early on. Now, the Desert Rage shouldn't have been faster than the trophy truck, I don't think. One of them is slightly quicker over the dirt, I can never remember which one. But no doubt these 2 were faster than the Injection and the Sultan RS, so for purple points, it was a hot lapping session really between Macy in Division 2 and Overwhelm in this division. But thanks to Overwhelm's very exploratory approach to the circuit, he actually found a faster line during the race than anybody else had been using and scored the fastest overall lap. And with it being Division 4, the purple points are multiplied to keep you in overall standing contention, so he picked up a whopping 10 extra points to go with his victory. Overwhelm's been taking part in loads of my playlists recently, so I can confirm he is a clean driver. He just had a bit of an aggressive drive in this one. So well done Overwhelm, Jonas and Tilko. To wrap things up here, there was no waiting list this week, but I do want to give a big shout out to Josh, AB and the others for organising that in previous weeks. I don't know why there wasn't a waiting list this week, we just didn't have the numbers. I really thought that the Street Blazer would have brought people out in force, but no, the Street Blazer was shown no love and we had to cancel it. So I suppose that leads us to the final results of Children of the Mountain Season 3, and after 2 months to the day, we can finally give Merphos the congratulations he deserves. To start last in every race and never finish outside of Division 1's podium is something quite remarkable. And you have to remember that this length of race is not really where Merphos shines. 30 to 40 minutes, I think, is well within everyone's capability. It's when you go 60 minutes plus that Merphos shows what level of consistency we're dealing with here. And it's not just his performance here that's impressive in my eyes, it's that he has become more involved with the community in general. Ever since acquiring a decent internet connection, he's been streaming several event races to let others see how he's doing it. He insists that L2 braking is the way to go, whereas some of the others have switched over to button braking for faster response time and more concentration on steering and throttle input. I personally get my best lap times that way, and if you go back to the Serrano race from this season, it's interesting to watch me and Merphos go at it, knowing that he's using L2 and I'm using the X button. I believe his rival Neo Dark Shadow prefers using the square button for some cars too, and after seeing Neo and Merphos in action in the recent crew versus crew battle, it makes you wonder which way is the way to go. One thing has held true though, and that's that over the last 2 months he's taken part in a series of events and the result is always the same. Merphos, Merphos, Merphos. The guy is my #1 driver on GTA right now, and the challenge will always be to beat him. You may remember my rambling recap of Season 2, in which I predicted that this season would be the showdown between Jodkiev and Merphos, and while that may not have been as accurate as I'm sure Jodkiev would have liked it to be, he did finish second, ahead of last season's King of the Mountain, Wes7. Both of them are major threats to any championship, and they typically have to deal with more lag than some of their competitors as well, so they've done immaculately once again to finish here in 2nd and 3rd place. New kid on the block, Neymar, finishes in 4th. Now he's always in my playlist, showing us how it's done from the ingot to the Nero custom. In other events since COTM, Neymar has stepped up his game massively and in my book looks to be a top 3 finisher if we were to take this to Season 4. But there's just something inside me, nagging at me, telling me that I should be better than these guys. I've beaten Wes and Jodkiev before, and I feel like I can do it again. I'm not content with 5th, which was basically 8th plus a last minute win, and I know that Neymar and Linny and Jamie LFC and even Truskavec and other guys that weren't even a part of this, like Joe WK, they'll probably be thinking that I'm overreaching because they tend to beat me in my playlists. I'm hardly ever in the top 3. But I don't know, I don't seem to give it my all in playlists. I prioritise having a good time and having a laugh in playlists. And just this season where we were forced to use only old tracks because of Rockstar cocking everything up and not being able to duplicate our cars. You know, this league was supposed to be about innovation and showing the best tracks in a competitive format, and yet my Sabre Turbo is being wiped out by falling fences in Sandy Shores. My heart just wasn't in this season, and I think that's shown in this delay, this postponement of making this video. I just couldn't be bothered. Let me just quickly switch to page 2 so you can browse the results here as you wish. I hope you surprised yourself if you started late in the season. 117 drivers, man, that's absolutely crazy. The amount of encouragement that you guys have given me over the last 2 months to bring COTM back has been overwhelming. All the messages right here on YouTube, on the PS4 and in Slack, reminiscing the commentaries, telling me what your favourite lines were. It's all been so worth it. So how can I refuse, really? How am I supposed to shut this thing down? What will the wheel prophesize next with the release of all these new cars? What does Trackmaster Miller have in store for us? These are questions we simply need to have answered.